Hey everyone, what is up? Welcome to another episode of Kurt on Cougs. Today we are going to be breaking down what happened earlier for BYU women's basketball. Earlier today they played against Cincinnati on the road. We'll talk about how that one went. First, just quick comment just on something that's happening overall in the sports world. Today was a very interesting day, in my opinion, in the college football playoffs. A total flip-flop of what I thought was going to happen. I expected the Texas ASU game to be a blowout and expected Ohio State, Oregon to be super close. Of course, that didn't happen, though. As we saw, Oregon get totally blown out by Ohio State. I was very surprised by that result. I really thought the Ducks could have made a run at the national championship. But Ohio State, currently one of the hottest teams in the CFP. And then that Texas-Arizona State game was quite a good one. In the fourth quarter, ASU is down 16. They make the comeback, send it to OT, and in double OT, the Longhorns ultimately win 39-31. ASU, though, great representation for the Big 12, keeping the game so close. And could have gone either way. It was crazy, wild game, very enjoyable to watch. Also, of course, very unfortunate circumstances in New Orleans. Tragic incident this morning postpones that game. Of course, that's not the top concern. A football game getting concerned at the end. A football game getting postponed. Very sad to hear about the act of terrorism that happened there. So, definitely praying for all the victims and their families at this time. And so, that's kind of what's been going on in college football. I'm going to look at that. And now for the main thing we're talking about today, of course, BYU women's basketball playing at Cincinnati. Ultimately, it's a tough loss for the Cougs as they end up losing this one by a final score of 72-63. And this was a game the Cougars were in control of. Going into the fourth quarter, they had an 11-point lead. And then they get outscored at 26-6 in the fourth quarter alone. And so just didn't, they started really strong, weren't able to finish that well, and ultimately they dropped to 0-2 in conference play. Painful loss. Just overall not a great start to conference play for BYU women's basketball. You lost a really close game with Arizona on Saturday, and then had a really good shot to win this one. Doesn't end up happening in the end. They'll be looking to bounce back this Saturday when they take on West Virginia. And so, other notable stats in this game. BYU did have some of their better players have some really good scoring games. Mari Whiting and Delaney Gibb both had 14 points, and Emma Calvert had 12. And so they showed up, they played well. Once again, I think this is a BYU team that has a lot of talent, also is pretty young. Hoping to see them hit their stride by the end of the season and finish strong, maybe make it into the NCAA tournament, and if not that, at least the WNIT or something like that. I don't know. There's a lot of tournaments these days, so it's kind of hard to keep track of. Stats in this game that hurt the Cougs, ultimately, and it's kind of weird. You look at the stats from this game, they had a pretty decent shooting game. Like, their shooting percentages were pretty good. But the number 24 seems to be the Cougars' enemy in this game, as, for one thing, they had 24 turnovers. That's just not something you can do if you want to win basketball games. And, just got to keep the ball. I think this is something I talked about yesterday, especially when you're on the road. That's a way that the home team can build some momentum, get the crowd going behind them. And so, really tough. Just gotta not have that many turnovers. And Cincinnati also had a decent amount of turnovers. They had 15 turnovers in this game. But 24 is a lot, and that's really hard to overcome. As well as Cincinnati shot 24 more free throws than BYU in this game. And I wasn't watching, so I can't say whether or not I feel that was fair. But also when your opponent's shooting that many more, that alone could have made the difference for BYU. And so, got to stay out of foul trouble. And gotta not turn the ball over and gotta hold on to leads. So it's been a tough start to conference play, but once again, BYU women's basketball has a big opportunity this Saturday as they take on West Virginia. And just overall, Saturday is going to be a huge day for BYU, as you have BYU women's basketball taking on, like I said before, West Virginia. That's a ranked West Virginia team, number 18, while the men's team is taking on number 14, Houston. So two big ranked matchups. The men trying to make their first statement of conference play, the women trying to get back on the right track with what would be a huge win against the Mountaineers. So, yeah, that's kind of what's ahead. Disappointing loss today, but I still feel like this team has a lot of potential and excited to see what they do going forward. Go Cougs!